Hello. Hello. I think it's working. I am not sure. Oh my goodness. Things kept breaking. Ah. Okay. I think I have it fixed. I tested. Oh my goodness. Hold on, wait. My voice. I tested to see if. A bit too large, huh? I'm scared. Here. I tested to see if the audio was working, and it wasn't. And I was like, why is the audio always breaking? Maybe over here? Like nothing to block over here. Maybe over here. I don't know. Ugh, whatever. Whatever. This is fine. Right here is fine, right? Yeah, okay. I was testing the commands to see if like the bonk and the loot pouring was working in terms of audio redeems. And it wasn't. And I was like, why? I didn't change anything. I didn't move anything. Why? Why is it all of a sudden? The 2D model is so good. Thank you. Thank you. There's something bothering me about it though. Like on the neck. Maybe I shouldn't say it. On the neck, there's like a line, and I don't know why it's there. Because it wasn't there while I was rigging it. There's like a line. Ah. I need to fix it. I kind of also want to try out the brunette version. Well, I was too lazy to switch it. So today I don't have much of an agenda. I do still have some quests to do. I need to do the planetologist. I have a guide up for it because you have to find him in the map, and I don't know where to do that. I have trooper training, mentat training, swordmaster training.
Sector weather alert.
Oh, great.
Sandstorm is approaching.
Oh, that's the Coriolis storm. Yeah, reset is also tomorrow. So everything in the deep desert will be wiped clean. And we'll also be getting the alerts every hour. Every hour on the hour. Oh wait, I moved the subview console here. Not here. Here. I've expanded the base a little bit to now include a advanced vehicle fabricator. So we can make the carrier, which we will need a lot of titanium for. I should probably turn on streamer mode. No, it's fine. I don't. But we have not very many mats to make it with. Whoa! Hold on. Hydrate, everybody. I see that, and I will turn on that. Turn on Discord streamer mode. I meant streamer mode in game, but good test. Good test anyway. Thank you. Let's see. I did a lot of grinding for iron. I need to turn that into steel. So I need carbon, which I have not a lot of. Ooh. I have none of, actually. Okay. We did win the Landsrad by a landslide. It looks like they want the armor vendor, so there's really no point in voting any other way. Unless there's 7 hours left to vote. We have either this much or this much. I'm not sure. Worthless Care Bears. What does winning do? You get to choose this, which will affect the following week buffs or boons or rewards or whatever. I think this past week it was this one, so we were able to refine really quickly. The costs, I thought, okay, I didn't read it right. I thought that costs of refining were also reduced by 75%, which would have been amazing. But it's just refining times are reduced and then repair costs are reduced. So it's useful, I guess. But I have never seen the vendor. I don't know where to access the vendor. Or I don't know. I don't know what it means. I don't really care to vote. I don't know. But this is the important part. So in order to win, you have to complete a straight thingy like bingo. Or if you can't complete a straight thingy, you have to have the most on the board. So Atreides got the most on the board and completed, I think it was this one, and then they completed this one. But I don't see any that I want. 3,000. Ooh, wait, I'm actually really close to getting a still suit boots. I just need to kill a couple more sandflies, which are all around me. Let's see what I have to do. Water. Pretty full. I kind of want to turn all of our silicone blocks into, or all of our flower sand that Ven got, and turn it into silicone blocks. Because we have so many chests. You see this going all the way up? It's filled to the brim with sand. He just filled all these chests with sand, and I'm just like, bruh. Like, this one was all me, but no. I think I filled this halfway up with sand, and then he filled the rest of it up with sand. But I need to convert them and use up this water that we're getting. So unfortunately, then I have to make sand into blocks. Looks like we do need more etherite. How do I say this? Erythite. Erythrite. Oh, I keep saying etherite. What? Erythrite. Erythrite crystals. Which I hate going down there. But I will go. But I also want to fix up this base. I think Ven's gonna help me, but we'll see. There's no reason to have this up here anymore aside from like purely decorative, but since I moved the subview console, there's no reason to be up here anymore. I can make a different room elsewhere. And then I also, I don't even, oh god, okay. I have this area that I can build on. But, no reason to, still. I want a tower up here, and I want a tower over there, and then I want... Ugh. It's hard to build in the daytime because I get sunstroke so fast. I would have wanted something up here, but I can't build there. I ran out of space. Oh, maybe something here. Oh my god, I'm sunstroke already. I will wait nighttime, which sucks because I won't get water at nighttime. Did the silicone blocks use up water? Use up a lot? Oh, we need bodies. Running low on bodies. Running low on corpses. How's your neighbor doing? This is why you never get to build. Lots of farming to do. Lots of grinding for mats. Neighbor's still there. We have new neighbors, actually. It's rather interesting. So this neighbor sort of kind of expanded their base. That neighbor is sort of kind of blocking one of our flower fields that we go to for water. It's really annoying. But there's other places at least. Where's my name? I'm going to get... What was it? What was it? What's on the list? Hold on. I gotta go look. There's also If I'm Brave. If I'm Brave. Deep Desert Titanium mining. I did 2 runs of titanium yesterday. And now we have plastinium. A lot of these. I did 2 runs. I was such a brave bud. But need carbon. Need carbon netherite. We're good on jasmium. I did 2 runs for jasmium yesterday. I think we're good on aluminum, but we are not good. Oh, we are good on duralinium. I want steel. So carbon and netherite. Because we need cobalt paste. What? What? Where's the cobalt paste? What? We're out of cobalt paste. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going into the crevice. Erythrite. Yep. That's what we need to get. I don't want to use this cutter ray because it's my only one that can mine titanium right now. It is? Does it look like how it looks in game? Red cobalt. Previously cobalt. Oh, that's why it turns into cobalt paste. This. Where's the mining stuff? So this one still gets, ugh, not a lot though. Mark 5, cobalt, 130. Okay, I can make that. Geez, it needs cobalt paste. Okay. Mark 5. Oh, this one can still get us titanium and stravidium. Need one. And I'm gonna put this away. For now. My weapons are breaking. But I'm gonna use them up until they break so that I make myself better ones. Because for now, since I'm not going into the... Oh my god, it's so loud. Well, down we go. Since we're not going into PvP, the enemies still die within 2 shots of my... Whoa, I cannot see. So I don't need to upgrade my weapons just yet. One of these has radiation, but I think I can get in there without a suit. Hello? There's usually more than one. Oh, what the heck? Guys, look at to see how horrid my tracing skills are. I really need to bring the buggy down here. We need to make a base down here. I feel like we need these. Escape! I don't think this is the... Where's it? I don't think this is the radiation one, at least. Or is it? No. No, it's not. Okay. I have my suit? I doubt. Okay, come on. Alright. I'm getting pretty full. This away. What is this? Why do I have granite on me? Okay. This one's a bit difficult, and then I can't see either, so... What was it, 0? What am I supposed to... Aha! You know what? If it works, it works. Okay. So, I feel like I need to clear my name a bit. Oh, he died with 1 shot. Oh. So, last stream we finished story, and I was a bit on autopilot because I was reeling, but I misspoke. We are not we are not machines. We are clones. I know they said it, but in my head it was the same thing. Sorry, hold on. That's carbon. I need it too. Okay, we'll get it too. I was paying attention, I swear. I was just thinking about other things. Oh my goodness. Too far. Give me something else. Oh. What did we win? Was there another one that we were close to winning? Is the cargo thopter too expensive to fly for this? It's too big. I don't know if it'll fit in the little crevasse that I take my scout to. It's also a fuel guzzler, which, oh my goodness. Oh no, I'm full. There's 2 more down here. I suppose, maybe, I don't know. It's also very heavy. Have you seen it flown yet, Aku? What is that sound? Ew. Why does it sound like that? No. It's very heavy. Oh my goodness. I can fly it a little bit later. Oh my god. Okay, hold on. Please. How's your mouse, by the way? Can we play Repo yet? Okay. This one's clear. What is that sound? So freaky. Oh, there's more. What's my inventory at? Good enough. Serves its purpose. Oh. Hello? Oh, I need this too. Shoot. Okay. Back to the ship. I see, I see. I think this is the... We haven't gone this way yet. Sorry! I think we haven't gone this way yet. Is very loud going in. I'll try not to talk while the engines are on. Ah. I've been playing some I've been playing some Apex lately, and I don't know, it just... Okay, hold on, wait. Sorry, I forgot. I know I just said I wouldn't talk while the engines are on, and I immediately forgot. But it just feels good. They're shooting the movement. It feels a lot better than, dare I say, Overwatch. Where's the other one? There were 2 of you. Perhaps even 3. Are these guys sandflies? Does it give you motion sickness? No. So, Overwatch didn't either. God, can't do that one. No way. Ooh. That's kind of crazy. What's kind of crazy? Okay, so we went to... I think we went to this one. Huh? Does it give you motion sickness watching me? Oh, storage is full. We'll just fill up my pockets then. Go to the next one and fill me pockets. Where am I going? We're going the wrong way. Constant hopping in Overwatch is gnarly. Apex has less of that. Maybe because I'm controlling it, it doesn't give me motion sickness because I know that I'm about to do a whole little hop. Ooh. Okay, I think this is the one with the radiation. Calm down. See if these... Okay, to be fair, that one was constantly in motion that I had no control over. No. Is this counting for...
Identify yourself.
Where?
Gotcha.
Okay, come on. I can't tell if they're deserters or sandflies. This isn't sandflies territory though, so it's probably deserters. I can leave my plane out there. Okay. Oh, we're not full yet. Alright, one more then. I see the radiation. Luckily. Oh, I'm full. I love that this game doesn't hinder you when you're cucumbered. Like, I can still run around, jump, perform all of my skills. It's perfect, actually. Oh, it's nighttime. Didn't see if thieves also had have a lot of bobbing. Like, I swear even walking on land made me motion sick. We have to go finish some quests too. Before I forget. I need to finish off Trooper. Oh, but one of the quests is here. I understand why they refuse to implement some sort of camera smoothing. Even with controller, you're forced to look up and down on a ship. Yuck.
Thanks for your support!
Vin Horizon dropped a sub.
Misa, thank you for gifting a sub to Vin. I love you, mama. I hope work is easy today. Oh, Van's here. Hi. Hello. I'm just here keeping our base functional. Even though it could be improved a bit. Oh, was it random? It was. Let's see. Oh, we have some. Let me turn this all into. But cobalt paste should be here. It's random. Okay. So it looks like I got enough to make 500. Which is perfect. Our water is holding strong, actually. I think we finally made enough water tanks to be able to craft comfortably. But who knows? Who knows? All it'll take is one titanium run for it to be gone. Spend all my luck on cute percentage. Ah. I'm glad you're cozy. I really need to update my emotes now. Uh-oh. 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 It is. I didn't get any water. It's fine. We have a lot. We're here? Okay. So I did talk to... I talked to the swordmaster. And he said that the person who gouged out his eyes was actually Fenring. And he wants revenge, but he can no longer teach me further. So he's going to send me to one of his students. Both in-game and out. Oh right, it is pretty cloudy outside, huh? So he's gonna send me to one of his students. And it is so good! Oh my god! Big fan!
You've returned.
Swordmaster Violin sends his regards.
Saren. He's alive.
Loud.
Where is he?
He's currently in the back alleys of Harko Village. Aw.
What the hell is he doing in that fetid nest?
That's all I'm at liberty to say. He's fallen on hard time, battered in body and soul. Ah, I guess there's no point in hiding that.
How did he end up this way?
Oh my god. So many questions. Our boy! Atreides! No, he isn't Jason Momoa, but I mean, I see the similarity. a little bit. I wish they did get him for the voice actor, huh? That would have been cool. Yeah, he does look consistent. It's either not say anything or just tell him, I'm not gonna lie to you. An enemy brought him low and left him mutilated but alive. Maybe we can get Fenring with this.
Who did this thing?
Oh. Damn, okay. It's honorable to not say anything. Master Varlin insists on dealing with this in his own way. I honor that wish. It's not my story to tell. There's like 2 options to not say anything, and only 1 option to say something. Duncan, my only hope at love after Zentara. I mean... Okay. So here's the thing. We believe, due to what the game has fed us, there's a gold mine for lore in this, by the way, but, okay. So, Duncan is a Gola. And I don't think this one has access to his past memories, but we kind of do. So we believe that Zentara will be brought back as a Gola. And he'll have some sort of confrontation with Eriste that'll jog his memories. And we'll get him back, maybe. But so this Duncan still has the chance of dying, unfortunately. Misa, why does everyone we love die? Okay, so we have 2 options to not tell him. Is this the copium of... Listen! Listen! It's in the lore, I swear. Count Fenring defeated Master Varlin in a duel, but would not kill him. Dare we do the honorable thing? Or dare we tell Duncan? Time to use the weapon too? What weapon? What weapon? Oh, cope. Did you leave it somewhere? I haven't tried it yet. I don't know what to say. Love, 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 love. Am I getting sunstroke here? No, we're in the shade. I don't know what to say. Oh, you didn't leave it for me. That's okay. That's fine. Who did this thing? Why is he talking like that? You know, you can go ask him yourself, I guess.
Very well. I, too, will honor that wish. But is there anything I can do to help?
Marlon asked me with forging a Damasteel sword. Ooh, we get a sword! He says you know how.
He did he? I'm not keen to set such a weapon loose on Arrakis, but disciples of Ganaz must put school before house in these matters. You really are his pupil, huh? It is good, at least, that he is training again. Perhaps teaching you will teach him what is important.
Spice bow! Teaching you will teach him what is important. What's important?
Very well. I'll teach you.
Uh-oh.
The list of ingredients is unorthodox. The blade must be quenched in the blood of a slave. That is to say, a blood bag.
Oh, okay. Wait, what? Okay. Gruesome, but I suppose every blade is quenched in blood eventually.
Here's an Imperial permit. It is good for one forging.
Just one?
Such permits are not easy to come by for a reason, so don't lose it. Or the blade. You'll need the materials and a weapons fabricator. Now pay attention. I'll only teach you this process once.
Okay. Duncan, Idaho. Okay. Okay. We are in the sun. Oh, we don't get sunstroke in here. Forged in dishonor. I think, learn There's no permit. How do we lose it then? Is it a special? Special? No, not that special then. Not there. Okay, let's see what it is. Craft a ceremonial Damascene sword. Present it to Saron. Oh, this... We don't talk to Duncan again? What? Boo! The blood of a slave. Jeez. There's honor in that? What are you guys? Sandflies? Sorry, it's counting for the Landsrad. He hit me. Oh, the sun. The sun. There's like so many things still left to do though. There's like places in the map that I haven't traveled to. Like I found a spice ritual chamber thingy, but it was desecrated. But the story didn't tell us to go there. But there was a chest where you usually would retrieve quest items that wasn't there, or that was there. But there wasn't anything to retrieve there except for money. Weapons fabricator. 10 on. Okay, a sword. What? What? Huh? Craft a ceremonial... Okay. Weapons fabricator. Sword. None of these are it. Wouldn't it say... Huh? I am confusion. I finished the game? I thought I did too, but there's some places in the map that, like, there's like this place. At the top of it, there was a thing. There was like a spice thing. There's other places I haven't been to as well. Like, I should probably do some map completion. Like, the Odom is 40% complete. I live in the Eastern Shield Wall, but I only have it 50% complete. I spend most of my time here, and it's 71%. It's the most I have. Like, there's so many things I'm pretty sure I missed. Okay. Shall I Google this? Shall I Google? I hope it's not an advanced. Craft a ceremonial Damascene sword. If you are stuck on the quest because you never received a schematic or lost it somehow, oh. Oh. Was that always there? What? Was this always here? Large blood sac. Okay. Okay. I have a large blood sac. I'll use this one because it's almost empty. Whoops. I did look through my inventory and it wasn't there, I swear. That doesn't look like a sword. Okay. I hope it doesn't use the other blood sacs. Hold on. Supposedly there are 6. So let me take them all and hide them. Yeah, I don't care if it uses that one. I don't care if it uses that one either. Is that 6? 1, 2, 3. Yes. Sorry. Wait, you don't even have... Put it here. Okay, blood sacs are in my bike. You guys have access. Now will it say? Yes, there's only 3. Okay, so it'll only use up the broken ones. Smile. Ta-da! That's not a sword. That is a crate. Now we go to Saron, who is in Harko Village. You better not be like, you have to use this to kill me or something. Use this to kill Fenring or something. I don't want to fight. I'm not here to fight. I'm here for skill points. For my skill tree. I don't want to fight your battles for you. Or what if he uses it to fight Fenring and he dies? Like, I made him a faulty... a faulty sword? So the first thing I did after last stream, I went to talk to House Vernius's representative. I went to talk to House Vernius's representative, and I remembered that he said that Bronzo Vernius hasn't been seen in a while, and they probably won't know what he looks like. So if they bring him out, if they bring him back as a Gola, like, they won't even recognize that it's not him anymore. You know, it's been a while. And the Benetililax will use him to control the... Where's the fuel? Where's the fuel? That's not fuel, but it'll do. Hold on. Arco Village propaganda, my beloved. What do you mean? What do you mean? Look at this base. Even this is better than... Skip cutscene. Oh, everything's about to break. Ah! Ah! Notice I'll fix that. Okay, hold on. Hold on. The codex. Where is it? Okay, so wait. It was one of these. I was reading these before. I don't remember. This is his mom, Lady Tessia Vernius. And then... where is it? Clone generated from the tissue of a deceased human. La la la. Not that. It was somewhere here. Had to do with the king, and I don't... Not the king. It was someone else. It was something about his dad being infertile. So they don't know how they had kids. How his mom had kids. And they were saying that it was someone from the emperor's side. So he has ties. He has ties to the king. And that would explain why the Bene Tlilax said that we're interested in the royal view. So they can control the emperor. Whoa, buddy. I was reading a lot because I love lore. As a proud kingdom. All this hidden lore. Listen, I didn't know that there was stuff you could read. Whenever it said like Codex unlocked, I didn't know there was this whole thing until like towards the end. Otherwise, every time I unlocked it, I would have been like, read. Actually, we did just unlock someone, did we? We unlocked Duncan. A letter from an Atreides soldier. Father, you asked me what it's like to fight alongside Duncan Idaho. It is inspirational. He lives up to the stories and more. However, something has changed. I'll not forget the first time I saw the swordmaster of Ginaz in battle. Like an artist with a blade, he waded into the fray with fierceness, yes, but also a bombastic joy. It set my heart slamming in my ribcage and left no room for fear. But the last time I saw him in battle was different. All the skill and deadliness were still there, but it was cold, mechanical. Gone was the joy. All the years of this war of assassins has taken a toll. Love and honor, Polina. He did seem kind of... mechanical. I'm not saying he's a machine, but he did seem more stoic There you are. Hello, because nobody ever reads. I read! I read! I just
What
didn't
have
know
you
it was
learned?
there. Regarding my task,
Yes?
I have forged a Damast steel. Uh,
Truly. Place it in my hands so that I might believe. Forgive me, being emotional. I never thought I'd hold a Damasteel blade again. You're truly keeping my culture alive. You're worthy of the next lesson.
culture. I'm ready to learn.
Let the blade fill your hand. Let the blade become your hand. Be mindful of your breathing and listen carefully to my words. We
We've
are
yet to
reaching the
meet
limits
Ernie,
of what I
right?
can teach
We've
you.
only seen him in
Such a thing should take years.
hollow thingies.
Who are you?
I am your student.
And so it goes.
Ooh, we were his student in a past life, probably. LOL. I forgot to get my money. Yay. Wait. Are we done? No, we're not done. Okay. We talked to him again. It's like, no way. Well,
What have you learned?
no way that was our only interaction with Duncan. How do you
I
fare?
do not know. Holding the Damasteel sword in my hands brought back a flood of everything as it used to be. Everything the universe should be. I wanted to weep, but I don't think these damn Tali-Laxu eyes are capable of such a feat. The well overflows, but there's nowhere for it to go.
I'm sure you can still cry even if you have fake. Can you? Can you still cry? The one who took your tears is still out there. Keeping the Gnaz culture alive is clearly more important than revenge. Are we driven by revenge? I would say the culture is more important. Gaslight.
You've been a good pupil and friend, but these wrongs cannot go unanswered. Count Fenring cannot go unpunished.
Okay, let's go punish him then.
What have you learned?
What happens next, Master
You're
Violin?
quite formal today. Well, I have a formal task for you. I feel stronger again. It's time I repay an outstanding debt to Count Fenring.
What do you mean?
Take this letter, a formal challenge of duel to Alara Tuek. She'll
Tuek.
know how to get this to Fenring. I will send him screaming to hell as he did me.
Don't do this. You would deserve your revenge, Master Violin. What's more, you are ready. Okay, but you know, he's been getting stronger, and you have been wasting away. You just got your eyes back. Like, oh my god. You know, okay, you've taught me, you've taught Duncan. You have enough students out there to carry your legacy, I guess, so.
You helped me crawl my way out of my misery, dear pupil.
He's gonna die.
A master learns more by teaching than they ever did as a student.
We gave him a defective
Will
sword.
you take my letter of challenge to Alara Tuek?
Yeah, I'll do it. The foolish count thinks me coward. And for a time he was right. However, you, my pupil, have dragged me out of the back alleys and into the blistering light of Arrakis' sun. Now, honor demands I put Hasamir Fenring to the sword in a duel. Present my written challenge to Alara Tuek at Hanavar's establishment. She will know how to get it to Fenring.
Off you go then.
I'm nervous. I'm nervy. What if he's like, I will not fight you when you're no longer in your prime or whatever, choose a champion, and then it's us! Ah! I can't fight! My sword's about to break! Hey, mama.
Oh, look, the kitten is back. Do we have business?
I need you to deliver a challenge from my master to yours.
A challenge? How wonderfully archaic. And who do you think my master is that I can deliver this challenge?
Count Hassan. And ring.
Oh, do be serious, kitten. Our relationship is more complicated than that.
Take this letter to him. And then I lose it, right? It's not here. Addressed to Count Fenring Hasimir Fenring, invoking the laws of Canley. Whoa.
Let's see your mysterious little missive.
Next.
Oh dear. A duel, you say? Your master is soon to be dead.
Whoa.
That is not a boast, but the truth of how deadly Fenring is. Alas, I liked Saren.
Well, we can't even watch because we're programmed, right? What would be something traumatic enough for us to break the programming? You'd think Zantara dying would be enough. Oh wait, encourage or dissuade? A choice! Whoa. A choice? I can't make a choice. I've been dissuading him this whole time. There's my choice, I guess, but I want to know what happens. I want to know what happens. Hey, is this the sword? Hey. Hello.
What have you learned?
Regarding my task,
Yes?
your letter of challenge will reach Count Fenring, but
But what?
give Fenring hell, he has it coming. You should not go through with this, Master Varlet. I don't want him to die. I need to Google what happens. I'm gonna Google it. Dissuade or encourage. German. What? Saron Varlin. There's a guide. It was deleted! I don't want to do it. Okay, I think I'll look it up after. But I don't want to do it. He dies because of... I don't want to do it. He's... Just... You have your eyes again. Start teaching students, and maybe one of your students can challenge him and avenge you. You know? I'll read what happens if you encourage him after this. But I cannot... Because I used like a really almost broken bag to build the sword. Like, you should not go. Okay, this whole time I've been discouraging him as well. So I can't just switch it up now, right? Right? I can't just switch it up now. He's gonna be mad at me or something. I don't know. You can challenge me, I won't kill you for sure. But if you challenge him, he's definitely gonna kill you this time, right? Like no. It's been years. You gotta get over these things, man. Like, I'll take you to therapy and everything, but what? If my memory serves me right, you did encourage him to revenge. Did I? Cause this last one just now, I was like, maybe that was because I was trying to see what the dialogue would be. You should not go through with this. It was the first time you didn't? We're doing the honorable route, guys. Okay, listen. I'll fight Fenring for you. I feel like we're gonna kill him. We're gonna kill Fenring, not you. Sorry, Varlin. It's us. Let your pupil do the killing. You're old now. Sorry. Should not go through
You
with
think
it.
me weak? Hmm?
Oh my god, he's
You think
mad!
me maimed by my previous loss? Draw your blade and convince me before I strike you down on the spot.
Okay, I will. This is not what you need. You've proven you can forge new swordsmasters. Yeah, exactly! That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to say this, but I will say this.
What of it?
Oh, I just got the achievement for completing all swordsmaster training. So, your fallen house survives only through spreading your teachings.
You're right. Fenring is an Imperial appointee, soon replaced. The teachings of Ginaz are what must endure, more important than my revenge or vanity.
I am ready. Will he still teach me?
Let the blade fill your hand.
Oh, okay.
Let the blade become your hand. Be mindful of your breathing and listen carefully to my words. That was nearly perfect. Go forth into the world, swordmaster of Ginaz.
Spoilers? What spoilers? The achievement? It's weird because my achievements are usually super late. Contract. Yay. Well, that was simple. Yeah. We didn't have to fight anybody.
What
Hello?
have you learned?
Oh. Okay. Well, now we've unlocked the capstones. What is it? Thrive on danger. When you are low on health, you regenerate health faster, receive less poise damage, and reduce... Oh, it's a technique? All stamina costs for actions. Ooh! Wait, I want this, but I don't... Bleed tolerance, solid stance. Ooh. I want this. I'll replace it with... I don't know what to replace it with. No Duncan for you? Is that the spoiler? That he sends me back to Duncan? Okay, because the thing that I clicked was deleted, so it didn't even say. Is there a guide or something? Does it tell me? Encourage or dissuade. It doesn't say. What happens if I encourage him? Oh, there's an AI answer. This affects the quest outcome. Both paths leading to different... Yeah, that's what I saw. Both like, it said it didn't matter which one you choose. If you choose to encourage, the quest will progress with him engaging in the duel. If you dissuade, the quest will proceed with him not participating in the duel. Okay. That doesn't... Okay, whatever. Now, when I make my Harko character, I will encourage vengeance. I'll make all the wrong choices. The spoiler was the achievement. I see. Okay, wait. What did we get? Nothing. Did I always have this? Wow. That was free, I guess? Jolt sword? My sword was breaking, but it's not a... It looks like a rapier, but it's not. I don't think. I don't know. We'll see when we're out of here. Next quest. So we have completed Swordsmaster. Now We do. Trooper. But I'm gonna go back to base first and get my money so I can deposit it. Excuse me. Excuse me. Ah. Didn't Trooper require a skill reset? I did reset my skills to do it. I'm pretty sure I did all of them already. But if it does ask me to use stuff again, I will not be able to because I recently respec like yesterday. Gotta go. Gotta go back. Gotta go back home. This is a player for sure. Indecisive as heck, like me. WASD, it does, but it's really short. Like, I'd rather drag it with my... Not short, slow. I'd rather drag it with my, my right click. I have matcha today. Today's tea is matcha. Oh, there's a storm. Oh.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Oh, there's a storm. Will we make it? Now is not the time. We'll make it, right? We'll make it. Yay.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Oh, I left these on. Okay, hold on. I want to make more geranium. And we have plenty more water for it too. Is cobalt heavy? There's a guy that got timed out for asking the devs to make cobalt less heavy. Also, did we ever figure out what the circuits are for? Like, this? Storage, circuit 1, circuit 2? Like... I know you guys said something like Minecraft, but I have no idea what that means. going to see Kara. And then we have to look for wherever... What's his face is. Pop, 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 pop. Pop, 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 pop. Slightly heavier than iron. Cobalt? Cobalt paste? It's crazy. Bonk. Bonk the wall. Even as a paste, it's heavier than iron? Or is the ore mineral? As an atom? Minuscule. It's minusculely heavier then? That's a player. That's a player that doesn't know where to go. I wanna watch Dune again. A kilogram. But a kilogram of feathers. A kilogram of steel or a kilogram of feathers. I think I remember using that guy as my meme. I was asked for a meme that would represent me and I used that guy's confused face. Whoa. Whoa. It's Harley! Harley Quinn! Okie dokie. Hello, bestie.
Welcome. Would you like to deposit how much the law is?
Desert proof makeup. She's not wearing them because smudged as heck. Okay, Kara, here's your medicine. Hey.
I've been waiting for you, Trooper. The withdrawal is creeping back up. I need those stims. Have you been out in the Badlands honing your skills?
Yes, I've thinned the herd significantly. Here are your meds. Jeez, we're enabling this crackhead.
Good work, Trooper. I knew I could count on you. Give them here.
But I think she misses you. Wait. Dr. Kumari said these won't work forever. She could look for a permanent fix for you. Oh, wait, I don't know which one to choose. Stir the pot. Drama? Drama? Let's do Mrs.
Does
You.
she?
Oh! She said, I don't remember if she said this, so maybe this is a lie, but she said you used to have a bloody good time together.
Hell yeah, we did. Kumari's the only one who could keep up on a proper drug-fueled bender. I miss her degenerate
So
soul,
she's
too.
also a drug addict. She wants to fix things between you, but she says you never apologized.
She does she? I'll think about it.
Maybe this will put her on the right track. Dr. Kamari said these won't work forever. She could look for a permanent fix for you.
No, and she doesn't have to, because you're going to get me that
You see
master
everything
transmitter.
Master, wait, we need intel for that, Sergeant, and Tuco's dead.
I'm working an angle right now. It's too early to say anything. I don't want to jinx it.
Oh, what angle?
Okay,
I'm
so I
nosy.
don't exactly have another in with the smugglers. But I do know a scraphead who's been keeping his one good eye peeled.
For what?
I don't know, but I trust him. He'll know it when he sees it. I trust him to know his business. He's one of Fenring's agents in the Haga Basin, who also happens to broker intel on the side.
Fenring. Okay, you always got a card to play, don't you?
It just looks that way, Trooper.
I want to
The
know
deck gets
all these
thinner every time.
dialogue options. I want to hear what they have to
that
say.
transmitter soon, because the stims aren't going to work forever.
Who did this to you? How did you fall so far?
You've been loyal, Trooper.
Woo, lore.
You've executed every mission set before you, no matter how perilous. I guess I owe you the truth. My lord was sworn to Archduke Ikaz. Our house miner was granted the administration of a remote mining system on the edge of Ikaz space. We shared system defense with House Gauger, the house charged with the actual mineral extraction.
Gauger, I don't like that name. Fenring was the dude that we couldn't even look at. That's why I was like, if we let what's his name, Varlin, duel him, we won't even be able to watch. Unless he keeps that mask on, which, like, why would he keep a mask on while he duels, you know? I don't remember a Gauger. What happened?
When the feud between Ikaz and Moritani ignited to open
I know
war,
Moritani.
House Gauger took the opportunity to move against us. They swore fealty to Baron Harkonnen, who was himself allied with House Moritani. The price of their betrayal was the head of my lord.
Treachery! Nope. Nope. Not gonna antagonize her. Treachery!
For over 5 centuries, we fought and bled alongside House Gauger. In fact, they chose a banquet celebrating our long kinship to drug our food.
Oh, darn.
We slept, oblivious as our lord and his family were slaughtered. Only the intervention of the House Gauger Warmaster saved us from the same fate. Instead, we were shackled, branded, and sold as Mala. Not necessarily a preferable outcome.
It's like the Red Wedding. How did you end up on Arrakis?
That's a story for another day.
Ah!
I'm sick of reminiscing.
Tell me the lore! Understood, Sergeant. Let's get training already.
You'll be sorry you said that, Trooper. It's time to step things up a notch. I have an advanced technique for
Yay!
you.
Capstone skill. Are we done? Ooh, I leveled up. That's not enough to get me anything, though. Now what? Now what? Are we done? Forever? No, we're not. Hey.
You're back.
What do I need to do to get training?
There you are, Trooper. I've been
Are you
waiting
high?
for you. I always wondered if life is a rainbow.
Always
Why
high.
doesn't
Oh
it
my
include
god.
black? Like the space between the stars.
Uh-huh. Keep it together.
That's Sergeant to you, boat. The stims aren't working anymore.
God damn, she's like
Only Samuda helps.
back and forth. Doesn't help me. How am I supposed to train with you like this? Only Samuda only masks the pain. You need more than that. Train me.
I need this damn implant out of my head. If Dr. Kumari is a real sook, she has the training to take it out. But it's dangerous.
God damn.
The implant contains an 8 microgram strontium charge. Enough to kill me.
Technologist.
Blow the good doctor's arms off.
You should be able to disarm the charge with an infrared or radio signal. I don't know, technologist. When did we get that? But okay.
Yes. With the same master transmitter we've been after since the start.
You're gonna die. No, do you have intel on that?
It just so happens my information broker made contact. Seems a known courier was tracked to a slaver base near the Hand of Kadir. If any slave crews are buying a master transmitter, there'll be a record of it there.
Kill all the slavers. Check.
I want you to find that base.
Kill them all.
Kill them all. Consider it a training exercise. It'll be good target practice.
Okay.
See if you can find a shipping manifest and bring it back.
The stims aren't working anymore, but without the original transmitter keyed specifically to my implant, getting this blasted implant out of my skull without blowing both mine and the doctor's heads off would require a master transmitter, and those aren't exactly common. My contacts tell me a courier was spotted making a delivery to the slaver base in Jabal Ifrit. I need you to infiltrate the place and bring me their largest servo stim shipment manifest. Okay.
The details are in the contract.
Okie dokie. Kidir's shadow. I think we should also do planetologist that I can't track because I have to look for him. Okay, I have a guide for the planetologist because looking for him is a pain. Wait. Okay. Location. Last time I saw him, he was in a cage. So the next time should be siege? No, I did that already. Okay, testing station 29 is where he'll be next, supposedly. So we go fly there. We have nothing of import, of great importance to us, so we can just go. It looks like he'll be on the right side of the map. Wow. We're gonna go here, or maybe here. This guy's still there, just hovering. Wah. I saw a TikTok that said that the planetologist has some romance options. He said that there's no romance in this game except for this guy. Like, you can flirt with him and he flirts back or something. And now I'm curious. Curious. It's close. 29 is here. Okay. We'll go to that one first. It's moving. All it takes is reciprocation. The bar is so low, dearest. Where is it? Okay, south. Is it this? Spice? I think it's this. Oh, okay. Wait, I've been here.
Identify yourself.
There's someone here.
I missed. I've been here. Hold on. In 29, bottom of the What? Derek, where are you? Teach Taro. You need to make your way down through various tunnels. You'll navigate a thopter down there. If you have one, though, you might not make it all the way to the lab entrance. Enter. Find the mnemic film. Deliver the mnemic films to Derek. What? What? Do I have it in my inventory already? 71. What? Okay. We'll just... Whoa. Oh, you're here. Wait.
And here we are again. The old familiar places.
I thought it was a flare. Freaked me out. Well met, Derek. Oh, Can I ask him for training?
It was a dark place, but worth the effort. The old Imperium.
He was
They
right
really were
around.
trying
Yeah.
to terraform Arrakis, but they stopped.
Why?
The melange. Its discovery changed everything. The entire trajectory of the Imperium. Arrakis became a one-crop planet. The dream was dust. At least, that's how it seems. But Kynes... I think Kynes wanted that old dream back. Anyway, let's focus on your training. Are you ready?
Yes.
Then listen closely. Life improves the capacity of the environment to sustain life.
This is a lesson right here while we're being
makes
shot
needed
at.
nutrients more readily available. Aligned to nature and environment. Once again, you learn in hours what takes others months or years. Truly remarkable.
Okay. Today I learned you have to thaw frozen rice first before combining it with your food, otherwise it keeps the microwave from thawing the rice fully. Huh? Why is it still frozen? Aw. True microwave recipes. Okay. Not goodbye, because I still need you to teach me stuff.
And here we are again. The old familiar places. Always, my friend. The tasks of Cyprian Io are long and arduous. But they bring me to places where
Cyprian
I can
Io
further my
sounds
own
familiar.
research.
What do you need?
I need the mnemic film reels once more. But there's something else. By looking at the reports,
Cyprian
I
Io.
can pinpoint local testing stations. This is the area where Kynes was doing research. These testing stations might contain the key to what they were doing, with or without the Fremen.
It appears the Imperial testing stations have become popular hideouts for a myriad of unsavory elements. Number 29 is no exception, so I think my good fortune to have run into you again. While your bravado is inspiring, I think we should play to our strengths. Go find the mnemic film records and I'll stay here. Keeping a lookout, certainly.
Thank
Okay.
you. Return the reels to me if you find them.
I like Derek, he seems like a swell guy. Yeah. He also flirts back, apparently. Okay, hold on. Cyprian Io sounds familiar. Is that who I'm looking for? Cyprian. The Kynes. This is from Derek. Okay. Perhaps not. No. No. The Imperium? Man, where is it? Rombervernius. Bronsovernius could be dead. I swear it's here somewhere. I don't know where it is. But I read it. Okay. Welcome to testing station 20.
Welcome, honored guest.
Oh.
Dr. Natalia Manis here, head of testing station number 29.
What? Oh my god. Nothing. What? The accident was your fault. You have to let it go. No! No! I can't let it go. No amount of... They just walk around the corner. Oh god! You just walk around the corner. What? Buddy. That was cool. What? What did I do? Let's play this because I don't remember what's...
Nico. Surprise.
Nico.
I'm not dead. I just figured we'd all end up that way if we kept at this stupid war. That fat pig of a Baron doesn't give a crap about us. So I found a way out. Not just out, but out, as in off-world. So here's the thing. We've got room for one more. If you're ready to leave this worm-riddled sandpit, just start spending time at that dive tea house in Windsack. I'll find
I put my
there.
water away. I gotta go get my water. If I go down, I'm down for good. Uh-oh.
I see someone.
My leader John is... Is that it? Is that it?
The enemy is here. Time's up.
No alarm! Sabotage! It's not here. Does that mean I have it on me already? Do I even need to be here? Is it lower? Huh? What?
Who's there?
No one's here. No one's here. I have to sabotage all of them? I thought I only needed to sabotage one.
Who's there?
Hey.
Sound alarm. Whoa, damn you.
Oh. It was sabotage. He was doing the Sims thing when you block their path. They start emoting. Not here either. What the heck?
Still needed. Cosmetics to cover tattoos, all skin tones. Hardcore vendors have these. Civilian footwear. Racking vendors. Get everyone's sizes. Don't buy them from one place or all at the same time. Luggage. Aside from the bags, we'll need some civilian crap to fill them. They need to be convincing if searched by guild security. No military gear. No Harkonnen equipment. No mistakes.
That guy's funny. They don't make lists. They don't write lists. They just make audio notes. Ah! Please stay down. Ah! What? What? Hold on. Hey, something's wrong. One more. Okay. Whatever that was. Who are you? I wish the bodies showed their names, you know? Okay, where is the thing? The body doesn't show my name. Listen. Sometimes I kill key characters and I don't know who they are. I just know that they're special.
However, here's the details about the Chom drone you'll be impersonating. He had a wife and 2 kids on a Kaz. Sucks to be them, I guess. You'll find all the specifics in the dossier. Make sure you memorize it all so you can answer guild security questions without hesitation. I'll be testing your knowledge in a couple of days, so don't slack off.
Sucks to be them.
Ellis, please contact
Ellis.
the guild rep and arrange passage home for the employees whose records you'll find enclosed. This is everyone who is scheduled to rotate off-world this cycle. And no, your file is not included. You still have 2 more years of eating dust with the rest of us. Sorry.
Sorry. Sucks to be them. Freedom, what did I get? Meh. Oh, Derek!
Welcome, honored guest. Dr.
Derek! Hello.
I don't like this place. There are secrets here, and the smell of desperation. Be careful.
I have the mimic films.
Let's see here. What can I say that hasn't been said before? You're my personal savior. In return, I will teach you more back at camp. Meet me.
Camp! Okay. All in a day's work. And he's gone. Camp! Can I just hover out of here? Can I just... What? Yeah! Nothing that an ace pilot of your caliber couldn't do. Yeah! I really need to go back and get a decolator job so I don't die. Yes, I will go be safe. Easy. Not even a pause. Just straight ascent. Come on, wind. Ooh, carbon. I need carbon. Oh, wait. Ignore my messy line work. I swear I'm neater when I'm drawing. Oh my god! Carbon already. How's that building coming along? Listen. Listen. It'll get built. It is nighttime, so right now it'd be perfect. I don't know what I want. Like, I could look at Grimm's friends build to like see inspiration and stuff, but like what do I want? I don't know what I want. Oh no. I'll take this as well. Take this whole thing. And then we go back. Unleash your inner architect. It's not a mantle I wear. The best way for me to get into it is if I make an OC that is also an architect. Wait, I have one. I have one. I can channel an architect. There's one in my noggin somewhere. There's a latte on my foot. Surely one of you is an architect. I just gotta think on it more. Man, I have so many things to think about. I need a good dissociating session. Usually I'm really good at dissociating on a road trip. So I need a road trip. Then can we go on a road trip? Just travel to my parents. Oh, but my parents aren't home right now. The other day when Latte and Conan were just there was a day when Latte and Conan just cuddled up to each other. And that's rare. Look how functional this base is. Like, you walk into a door and straight into a chair. And then all of the boxes are on the opposite end. Because that's very efficient. I don't even have any of the ores on me. Okay. You're gonna start working. I need steel. And we still have plenty of iron. But I also need... Oh, wait. Also need... Oops, that's not it. More aluminum. And... yeah, more aluminum. This way and this way. It is nighttime, huh? So we should get to building. Okay. We'll do that then. Wait, before I forget. My Deca Leader John needs to be in my inventory. I don't know where I put it. I don't remember depositing all in here, but I'll take one. Here? No. both need water. Okay. Alright, okay. We're gonna do... Why didn't she get put up? There you go. We're gonna do some building. Because Jakku reminded me. And without being reminded, I am horrible at remembering tasks. So this is empty. There's no way to get onto this platform either. I don't even know what this is for. I think that was just to see what it does. Let's start with getting rid of this. Well, that was easy. Okay. This. Is this necessary? No. Because why would you even land here when there's one down there, right? Let's get rid of it from the bottom. Okay. This room? I don't know what it's for. It's just... It's pretty, I guess. But I kind of want to build it up there. It's for the drama. I kind of want to build it up there. Like, this doesn't even make sense. And then I can't even see. Because it's dark, but it's the safest time to build. What is this? What is this? Okay, you know what? We'll do rail. Demolish this. Wait. Okay. We'll swap it out for this. Now we have a balcony. But for why? For why? What is the reason? What is the point? This is gonna be moved. Here, I guess. I want to get rid of that floor. And then we'll truly be just a rectangle. Get rid of it all. Don't need it. I'm full. Uh-oh. Our yap room is gone. We're making a new one. We'll make a new one, I swear. It's just these. It makes the... We need a new space. Trust. He does not open it up. There's no more walls, no ceilings.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
And now I can't even... I can't even do it outside now. Okay. Listen. I'm tearing down the walls so we can build a new foundation. Or new walls. Yeah? I want to build something taller as well. This is no longer our bunker, right? Because, not bunker. What is it called? A hangar. This is now our hangar. Right? Right? So now, this room... Whoa. This room... We build walls here. I need this plane out of the way. So I can change this to be not this floor anymore.
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
We're still water sealed, right? Okay. We will have a new yap room, I promise. I want that up there. And then... Those bookshelves up there don't make sense anymore all of a sudden. Atreides won. Should you be building during a sandstorm? No. As long as I'm not outside. As long as I don't open up the inside. Oh god, Latte is just hanging off the armrest of Ven's chair. It's so cute. Is he gonna hit? It's gonna graze us. Okay.
Sector weather
I like
alert.
those little
A large
alcoves.
sandstorm is approaching.
Things need function, right? What's this? What goes here?
Sector weather alert. A large sandstorm is approaching.
Do a quick road trip to Finland and bring Latte to me. Will do. I wonder how she'll handle a plane ride. I've wanted to, like, because we've thought about, like, moving to a different country, and we were like, how are we gonna bring the cats? You know? Da, 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 da. Invade. How very American. The sun's rising. The sun's rising. Okay, I want to push this out. One, but it'll take... It'll take up... I want this floor. I want... this floor. Do I want that floor? No, I want... this floor. Okay. and then we do sun is rising. My time to build is over. Woo! Okay. Come on. Whoa, 97%. I think that's your highest. Your highest thus far. Oh no. What is this now? PR? What do you mean? Oh, personal record. Nice. Okay, so now we just need to choose a roof. I'm going to... I'm moving things outwards. So that I can demolish this. And now it's open. Hmm? Okay, I don't know what the heck I'm doing now. Guys, I'm not an architect, but it's open, right? No more awkward, that thing. That's just the roof. It can be fixed. It can be mended. And if you look outside, oh, don't look outside. Yeah, it leads to nothing. Okay, I need Ven's help. I need Ven's help. It's not even symmetrical anymore. No! Okay, I think I've done enough. I think I've done enough. I think I've, wrecked it enough. Let's just make Ven build this, yeah. This will be Ven's responsibility, not mine. Look at this. It's perfect, actually. I want a balcony. This. fine. It's fine. I will force it to work. Ta-da! It doesn't hacking work, but it's fine. No, it's not even. Whatever. You know what? I put down some bricks. I set some. Yep. I put down walls. Took down walls. Now this place is open for us to build walls in. I just need a good place to like move all the chests and all of the building stuff. I'll make a list. I'll make a wish list for then. Maybe that's what I should start with. A wish list for myself. Because I want more, what the heck? Okay. Because this is ugly. And then all of our chests are over here. But I want it to be different. Different-er. Okay, next time I'll have Ben do it. Okay, we need to go here. Where is that? World map. Back to adventuring. Yep. Listen, I never said I was good. Look at our house. That looks like a bird house. Wait, okay, wait. There's somebody over here that has a really nice base. I see the vision. Do you? Do you really? Because there's no vision. Only tears. My vision is cloudy with tears. I show the houses though. There's some really good bases, Atreides bases here. Don't shoot me. This house is abandoned. Or whoever owns it hasn't been on in a while. That's a Harkonnen base. And then this is just a really weird straight rectangle. Not sure what they're doing there. This is a base? It's kind of like a bridge. That's empty. Hello? Housekeeping. You open? No. All these ruins, right? People stop playing. That house doesn't even make sense. Like, this looks cool. It's kind of freaky though, with all those holes looking things. Whatever that is. It's about time everyone has gone through all the content. They need to come out with this next part of the story. I think it comes out September. This is really cool. They made like a palm tree. That's a carrier right there. Or an assault. I don't know. Very cool build. Very cool base. If they're online, I am running away. Well, it kind of looks like a hotel. I think this is a base as well. This one also looks like a hotel. Wait, you can kind of make a star, huh? I want to make a star. What is that? We're gathering inspiration now. This one's powered down. Aw, buddy. The power's down. This house is falling apart. No access, no access. Oh. Just a little nudge. That one looks cool up there. I think that's Harkonnen though. I have no idea what that is. Oh, that's a carrier. That thing's huge. That's cool. And then a different hangar for their planes. Facing north. Interesting, interesting. Whoop. Do we have any fuel? We don't have fuel. Let's go back home. Real quick. I thought this one was cool. Very small, but cute. The power's down. This guy's power is down as well. This one kind of looks like the one near our base. Do you have water? I do. Grim told me that as long as you have water in your like decaliter, John, you can keep picking yourself back up, like self-reviving. Which is helpful. As long as the enemy doesn't obliterate you. This guy's power is down too. Is it? It is. I mean, it doesn't take much. It's just... You just gotta go to your sub-thief station and auto-refill your generators. What? What? Note to self, make ceiling a little taller. Wait, why do I have why do I have stuff on me? A lot of granite. What the heck? Deposit. Deposit. Okay. Now I'm ready. Not ready. Wasn't... You're right! Not ready. Power pack. Dispenser box. Everything else. can break. I kind of want to make the ceilings even taller than this. Somewhere that way. To go up and nah, I'll just fly there. Before I end stream, remind me to fly the assault. Ooh, spice. It's an awkward spot for spice, though. I wonder if nobody's on. Dare we harvest some spice? This thing. Enter. Okay. Put it away. Whoops. Okay. Is this not where I need to be? Is there a certain place I have to enter from? Ooh. Whoops. A little trigger happy. Damn it. Whoops. Hold on. Ah! No. Shoot me. Where'd that granada come from? Do not toss grenades, please. It came from above. Okay, where do I have to enter from?
I see someone.
Oh. I was supposed to kill them. Good thing I entered first before killing them all. Shipping manifest. There's a schnoiper. Oh, hey!
Who are
This
you?
one's a fighter!
Oh, hold on. Wait, my shield. There you go. Yeah.
Need to reload.
I'm a little slow with it. I'm a little slow with it.
Fire in the hole.
There we go. Ah! Come out! Jeebus. That was rough. Is it here? Ooh. Seems to list the timing and destination of a past servos of shipments, although written in code. I have to go back? I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone. Oh my goodness. Can't place my vehicle anywhere. Oh. We have to go back to Arakeen. And now I'm like, should I go get my money and deposit it? Hi, man. Are you taking your lunch? I'm wondering what I'm having for lunch today. I think I have to cook something. Oh, but I don't have onions. Never mind. I'm cooking later. It's technically my breakfast too, so I might have cereal. That's valid, right? I can have cereal for lunch / breakfast. As a treat for streaming? Ooh, do we still have banana bread? Nom 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 nom. Cereal is an all day thing. Breakfast food should be an all-day thing. There's people who have breakfast for dinner. Daku? Are you one of said people? What did you guys have for breakfast today? Did you eat? Have you hydrated? Have you gotten at least a couple minutes of sunlight? I have not because it's cloud. Did you treat yourself to some fresh air? Did you do 5 minutes of cleaning? And 5 minutes of reading? Suddenly I'm asking for a lot. Taking photos at the Swan Garden this week and I got too much sunlight. Uh-oh. Did you wear sunscreen? Transport ornithopters are smaller variants of the carryall, capable of lifting other vehicles to spice or to safety. I feel like vehicles should also be placed under Imperial taxation laws, the same way your sub-thief console demands taxes that'll limit big guilds from having multiple stuff. Whoa, buddy. Excuse me. Excuse me, pardon me. Did you get burned? Sunburned?
Report, Trooper. Did you discover the manifest?
She's always so... Okay. It's written in some kind of code. There you go.
Let's see.
Did wear sunscreen, but it was hot. Brave of you to go out. I don't think I've been out in a while. I haven't stepped foot outside. It's too hot. I will not survive.
Good work. I knew you'd get the job done, Trooper. Don't worry about the code.
Master Chim.
My good friend, Master Chim, will crack it. I've contacted Dr. Kumari and told her to prep for the procedure.
Does she know about the bomb in your head?
No, she doesn't have to, because you're going to get me that master transmitter. Right now, your mission is to secure my ride to Harko.
Okay, how do I do that?
An ex-Dune man, Campos Damari, runs an ornithopter charter service out of the Arakeen Suk. He mostly takes bored nobles out to see the big worms. But he also has a side gig running contraband between the villages. You're going to make contact with Damari and tell him you want to ship a live package to Harko.
I didn't get the rest of the dialogue.
You want to avoid docking fees. Come back to me when it's set.
My contacts have a solid lead on a master transmitter. For this to work, we have to move fast before I collapse and decide it's easier to spend my life chasing Samura. I need to get to our doctor in Harko village. Talk to down in Market Street. Secure my transport. I don't know who that is.
As always, Boot.
Here. Hello? Hello? Oh, you.
It's you again. Come to share your secrets this time.
I want to transport a live package to Harko, but I want to avoid docking fees.
If you want to avoid docking fees, that costs extra. Call it the smuggler's paradox.
How much?
3,000 Solaris will cover my fuel and the bribes we must pay. Throw on an extra 1,000 for my time.
Okay.
Very good. I'll get your package to Harko and back.
It hurts me to part with money. Goodbye. Alright, Kara. Did I ever finish my train of thought? I said that the first thing I did was talk to House Vernius, and then I completed I completed the Lancer ad for House Vernius so that I could rep their colors. And now I look like a Snickers bar. I'm repping House Vernius. Now I look like a candy bar. Hey!
You're back.
About my mission?
I've been waiting for you, Trooper. Did you secure my transportation to Harko?
Transport is secure.
Well done, Trooper. You've gone above and beyond. That's not something I take lightly.
So before you do your super dangerous
if we were in
surgery,
any kind of real military
could you train
formation,
me?
I'd recommend you for a promotion.
Yay! It was an honor.
It's been an honor training you, Trooper. I thought my days as an instructor were behind me forever.
Hey, this isn't my colors.
Somehow, the spark is still there. I have you to thank for showing me that.
Please don't smile ever again. That was scary. Did your mentat crack the code manifest?
Good news on that front. Very good news. We have a name. A real black-hearted piece of shit, too. I'll be doing the known universe a favor.
Ever kill somebody? Who's the target?
The mark is a slave lord called Nalus. And I'll take it as a personal favor if you make sure he leaves this world screaming.
I'll cut his eyes out. Sounds personal.
Nalus was the pig that put the servo-stimulator implant into my head. In my deepest moments of pain and despair, I sustained myself by imagining his death in countless ways.
I will be your agent of
As much as I appreciate your zeal, Securing the master transmitter has to be the mission priority. If Nallus dies badly, I'll take that as a bonus.
How do we kill someone?
Dr. Kumari has made contact to let me know she's prepped and ready. I go under the knife as soon as you deliver the master transmitter to her.
Did the manifest say where Nallus can be found? Can you train me
No
first
such
before
luck,
you
but my
go
intel
into
broker
this
is working on that right
potentially
now.
fatal surgery?
He'll deliver Nallus's location to a dead drop near the Hand of Kadir.
I was just there!
You need to get to that dead drop, find Nallus, and take the master transmitter. Preferably from his cold, dead body.
I'm on it.
The details are in the contract. And Trooper, when this is all said and done, we'll raise a cup together like proper soldiers. Good hunting.
Bye. I guess we don't get trained. Unfortunate shade of brown. It's like an orange. I got another one too. There was like a bug for this House Moritani. If you complete it, you get House Imoda's still suit swatch. But then if you go to House Imoda, it also gives you a House Imoda still suit swatch. So it was like a bug that it gave you a different house's reward. So I got House Imoda's still suit swatch. That one looks really cool too. Crimson. And random blue. Looks like blood. Looks like I dyed it in blood. Whoops. The other ones don't look that great, honestly. House Atreides is green. Harkonnen. And there's a super green one. I thought House Vernius was like purple and black and stuff, like the Spice game. I don't know why they made it orangey. There is purple, but why the bright orange? Okay, back to the place. I need to go talk to Derek as well to complete Planetologist. That is actually my priority over Trooper. So there's also this scary thing that could happen if you're entering from the south. It's possible that a worm will be called and eat you as you're loading in. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But if it does, at least it'll be content. It won't happen, right? I'm really good at not jinxing myself, right? Sky Hulud, no. No. I've seen Sky Hulud. It's scary. I hope Sky Hulud stays shy Hulud and hides away from me. Please and thank you. Shy like me. Tired. If you have a lot of friends, you might want to create a guild. I have a guild. Who wants to join my guild? What's that shadow? We go talk to... No, he would be here. We need more Sky Hulud maybe for your next adventure. Into the deep desert. Where are you gonna build the base? A little closer to the... center? Or as far as possible in the corners? I'm getting hungry, guys. Is it almost that time? Is it almost that time? Hey, Derek. Hi.
You've returned.
Back to streaming.
How can this humble botanist be of service?
Oh, this is an awkward angle. I can't even look up. Time for some training.
Naturally. But I wanted to ask you something first.
Why are you
helping me? What is it that drives you? I'm amazed by your capacity to retain what I am telling you. And the basic principles lead to practical applications. But here we are, middle of a dangerous desert, burning sun, raging sandworms, studying planetology. Here you are. Why?
There's something growing between us. I want to see what that is. This is where you can flirt with him. I'm looking for the Fremen. This investigation of the kinds might be a way to find them. Either F1 or F9. I approve. Maybe you should wait and see like where the titanium and stuff is closest to before deciding 1 versus 9. The tip of the U-shape. Yeah. That would be perfect, actually. Life is about learning. It's the only way to move forward. Dare we flirt with this old man? I want to see what the dialogue option is. Let's flirt with him. I want to see what that is. Smile, blush, ooh.
That's unexpected. Not unwelcome, exactly, but unexpected. We should speak more of this. Later. For now, let's focus on learning.
He wants to explore that too. Next.
Now listen closely. An ecosystem is a system. A system. A system maintains a certain fluid stability that can be destroyed by a misstep. Why the highest function of ecology is the understanding of consequences. There. I hope that you can put this new knowledge to use.
Thanks. Okay, someone else in the guild needs to build on the other end. I can. I'm really good at building. I'm really good at building Minecraft squares. Minecraft house squares. Minecraft square houses. Yeah, that. Alright, now the next place that we'll find him is in lab number 71, which we already have the stuff to. Yep, okay. Alright, okay. Now we gotta go to... Oh, this is the mentat! Oh my goodness, what have I been doing this whole time? Straight south. Don't give me that look. There's no time for intricate bases in the deep desert. If anything, just wait for them to find wait for them to find the titanium island and then build whichever one is closest to it. 9 or 1. 1 or 9. We gotta go do the mentat training too. Ah, I forgot about the mentat. the mentat right now is just talking to people. What do you mean? I barely touched it. What is this? Wait, where's the quest? I passed it. Oh, that must be what I saw. A perfect spot for landing. Did I get it? Access the upper floor of Kadir's shadow. Okie doke. Is it on the other side of this? Full frames. Ah, this. Why are there torches leading up here? Interesting. Okay. So, we need to find the bracelet. I swear there's a guy around here. Just got it. Woo! Okay.
See someone.
No Granada. What do you mean you can hit me from down there? Ah! Okay. Well, there was a hole.
Kill them all.
Of course I missed. Hold on. Okay, hold on, buddy. Ah! Okay. My parries have not been very clean today. Okay, which door did this unlock? Can't really see from here. That door, that leads to that. But this one must lead to... Anyone here? Anyone else left alive? No? Hello? Housekeeping. No thanks. I want to break this sword. So I can use the other one. It's not for this door!
Let's go.
Oh, was I supposed to make him suffer? the band. Whoops. I just stabbed him like normal. Sorry. See? If I knew, I would have taken my time with it. Whoops. Need a place. That's a storm. Is it coming my way? It looks like it is. Hold on. Wait. Hide inside. Enclosed. I was like barely. I guess I moved back into it, huh? Okay. Should be safe now. The history man from Mad Max? Ooh. I kind of see it, but crazier. A mentat of her history. Let's do the mentat one too before I forget, because I need to level that up too. Mentat just reminds me of those drugs in Fallout. Maybe that's what it's about, right? Or that's what it's inspired by? Cognitive stuff. Hello. Who do I speak to? Hey.
You again?
You're in the Mobula gang, aren't you?
What's it to you? Better yet, just keep walking.
There are 206 bones in the human body.
What's this then, a bio lesson?
Crack open a bone and you can suck marrow and answers out of it. Oh.
Wait. What the hell is this?
Problem is, I have 238 questions.
What?
So I'm going to have to improvise with your teeth, too.
No, wait. I'm just a grunt. I don't know nothing. Starkey. You want Starkey?
Where do I find Starkey? Here's a sync chart. Just point.
You'll find Starkey here.
South of the rift, huh? Thank you for your cooperation. Wow. That's an interesting way to threaten someone. Take notes, guys. If you want someone to cooperate. Where is... Not too far, at least. I didn't know even RimWorld had stuff from Dune. What do they have? More and more I want to play RimWorld one of these days. I will bite the bullet and spend the money. Can't put it away. Down. Starkey. Oh. Do you? No. Do you?
Don't like your looks. Beat it.
Starkey, I presume?
How the hell do you know that name? Only fellow Mobula call me that. And you ain't Mobula.
Your friends sold you out. They said you're the man with the info.
I can't believe they gave me up.
I can't believe.
Things turned sideways ever since we started associating with the slavers.
Tell me about the slavers and I'll vanish like a bad dream.
Fine. I'm through with this street rat outfit. We made a deal at this slaver base. I'll give you the coordinates.
Okay. I can't believe it. Things like plasteel and the personal shield. Ooh. Oh, woo, woo, woo. I miss my my management sims. I might go play Spice Wars and see. Where is base? We're kind of rushing this. Wait, I don't have this one. Who are you? Here? Tell me your name. Da 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 da.
You're back. With good news, I hope.
Tell me about House Divets.
Divets is one of the oldest houses of the Landsrad.
Oldest houses of the Landsrad.
Even the Spacing Guild.
Oh, that's old. Okay.
And while the
whoa, I just got morphed into.
Is ignorant of our manufacturing, they have likely been conveyed in a vessel raised on our homeworld.
Raised on our homeworld?
Moves the Imperium.
Imperium. I can't, I'm sorry. What sort of vessels do you manufacture?
The Septimus 3 shipyards produce a wide range of atmospheric vehicles in both military and civilian configurations. From personnel shuttles to troop transports, frigates and lighters. If it's bodies or cargo, we move it.
What?
As I have said many times, Divets moves the Imperium.
Her voice itches an itch in my brain.
I am the right and duly invested representative of Great House Divets. I stand for Divets on all Landsrad matters relating to Arrakis.
Arrakis.
Proudly.
Proudly.
I am called Lady Tusnelda, Fairth of 7 sisters and daughter to Duchess Xaviera Divets, Ciridan Lord of Septimus 3.
She talks. I just want her to keep talking. Almost like a cute female Dobby. A Harkonnen outpost is a strange place to find one of such status.
Not so strange.
Status.
I am a trained and accredited envoy that goes where there is business to be found. Would it seem as strange if I were a man? Or does my conspicuous lack of dangling appendages somehow invalidate my credentials?
First of all, lady, I said nothing about... Anyways. I meant strange because you are a noble.
Then you are misinformed about the nobility. Unless one is lucky enough to be firstborn, life is about duty, service, and justifying one's stipend.
I expected her to be in the city. What was the other one?
Proudly.
Duchess.
I am called Lady Tusnelda, Fairth of 7 sisters and
why?
daughter to Duchess Xaviera. Do not look so astonished. It's well known that the Ciridarship of Septimus has passed down the line of Divets women.
Ooh.
A duke has not ruled our great house in 10,000 years.
That's cool. Okay. Put this girl and the Monopoly guy and the Vexed Swordmaster in the same room, please. Please, I need them all to have a conversation. Okay, House Divets is here. There's so many really good side NPCs that I wish you get to interact with more. Have we been here already? It's the same place from last time? Okay. They're fighting. But not each other. Oh, buddy. I missed both shots. Come on. Come on.
I see someone. Reveal yourself.
Whoa.
Sector weather.
What?
A large sandstorm is approaching.
Hold on, wait. No. I'm hiding. I just want to use up my sniper so I can build a better one. Enter the base. Hey. Hey.
I require assistance.
Wait. Come here. Let's. Ah! Wait. I don't want to know where those guys are shooting. Okay. Your turn. Okay. Search for information about other bases. Where's the thing? Right here? Ooh. Interact. Scroll details. That's not a scroll. To tell passage. Okay, now we can leave. I've been here before. Tell passage. Sabotage generator. Oh. Okay. Good thing we didn't leave yet. Where is the generator? This one? Okay. And then? I talked to the stuttering mentat guy. That's why we're doing this now. Vehicle has been sabotaged. Enter the passage. Where's that? Oh boy. No. Hello? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why is it 2 p.m.? How long have I been streaming? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. a gosh darn minute. About 3 hours. Alright, everybody. Hello, Ion. How are you? Welcome in. I'm gonna turn in this trooper thing. And then we'll do the rest next time. Oh, thank you for the hide weight. I'm out of my matcha. You promised to fly the big copter? Okay, fine. I go base, I get copter, I fly around a bit, and then I got off. Okay? I'll turn in trooper next stream tomorrow. So I know what to do tomorrow. Okay, I'll do it! The dangerous thing about not having my browser up is I can't see how long I've been streaming. Forever stream. No. No more 18-hour streams. Have I ever done an 18-hour stream? I don't remember what my longest was. I think it was 11, and I was like, dead. I wonder if the assault can do this one. Guess we'll see. Watch me immediately crash it. No. Ace pilot. Where's the wall? Oh. I think there was a 12 in the past. Never again. 3-hour limits from now on. It's the healthiest option. Can't stream more than 12 really? I heard that they're doing ID verification for YouTube now too, even if you're American. What's that about? Can you not stream on YouTube without verifying your ID? No more 24-hour streams. Just on... You can do it on Twitch, but not on YouTube. My wings... Going on with my wings. 41%. Oh boy. For charity! Okay. Here's the big boy. Let's check everything first. Everything looks good. 93%, okay? The wings are at 93%. Just remember that. 93. 93. Right? Okay. So we're accelerating. Slice. So here's the big boy. I'm not going for that spice. I don't have my thing. Oh god. We have a booster. Oh, the booster is a toggle. Can we do this? We can. It's really slow though. It has 6 wings. Oh, I do not like the toggle. Oh god, the wind. The wind. It's very clunky to maneuver. I love the struggle wiggles. Very hard to maneuver. Jeebus. I hear the cash register sounds when you fire the engines. It uses up a lot of fuel. Oh, I'm full. But it can carry 1,000. I don't remember what the I don't remember what the scout carries. Whoops, whoops. Ignore my horrible tracing. Oh my goodness. The sun, it hurts. Oh my goodness. You'll never financially recover from this. Perhaps. It's a good thing I have 2 other people to farm with. Giant ship in the sky? I don't think we can. I think somebody tried to land on it and they went through it. So I don't think it's like real. The slaver ships though? Maybe. The ones at night? Because I tried landing my scout on a slaver ship and it like... It collided. Hi Seraph! I'm about to get off. It's good to see you too. How's everybody doing? I need food. I need sustenance of some sort. I'm on Guild Wars. Is there... Oh, the new specs are out, right? Oh, here. This is also an Atreides. But it's open. Their power is out. All these people. Ooh. Okay. 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 You just gotta... Yep. 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 Yay! Now let's see. 91. That short amount of flight that we did. Oh boy. And the fuel? I don't remember what the fuel was at, but... Jeebus. You really need... Was it planetologist? You really need fuel efficient... I can't learn it because... I need to finish stupid people's quests. Alright, but that's... Should we convince Ellie to play KF3? What's KF3? KF3. Got so much merch. Aw! What'd you get? What'd you get? Show me the haul. Oh, please tell Cherub I said hello as well. And I hope she's doing good. And I'm glad she's having fun at Disney. What's KF3? Before I go, tell me. Killing Floor 3? That sounds scary and gory, and I don't like either of those things. This game had scary gore stuff, and I almost cried. I think I started hyperventilating. So, Poopy Ellie. Let me go put some bodies in the... I need to move that desk. We're running low on corpses. I gotta start kidnapping more people. Okay. Well, it's been fun. Why are we already low on water? How did this happen? Where's all my blood bags? Oh wait, I put it in here. They're all empty. Empty blood bags. Okay. Alright. I didn't know if I'd have enough content to fill 3 hours, but here we are. I hope you guys had fun. I really need to move this desk and chair so it's not right there. Zentara lives. Feeding into that conspiracy. I think after stream I will maybe risk a trip to the deep desert for some titanium. But I hope you guys had fun too. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for chatting. I love you. Bye. I don't know what I'm